It's same thing with Vibe and Tommy Hilfiger. You know, they were friends, and Quincy made a way for him to become, you know, ingrained in the culture of us. And so I remember when we all showed up to do the fashion show. We showed up because Vibe and Quincy asked us, not necessarily because it was Tommy Hilfiger.
Yeah.
But then we all wound up wearing his stuff and liking it, and you know, it's the American colors, it's bright, it's flashy, it's everything hip hop is. And so that's how he gained his popularity. It's always a reason.
It's the Almanac, a rap show. I got opinions and they all factual. No news, just information that you won't be able to use unless you're at a dinner party trying to impress who's in attendance with endless tidbits of nonsense. We're gonna have a good time, I promise. YouTube rabbit holes, Reddit deep dives, pulling out old interviews from the archives. Styles, fads, trends, all of that. It's the Almanac of Rap.
Welcome to the Almanac of Rap, the show that understands the metaphoric phrase light as a rock. It's explaining how heavy the young lady is, you know what I'm saying, King? I'm your host, Donwill, and in today's episode, I have a conversation with MC Lyte about her career and the way that she's pioneered in music, fashion, and more. MC Lyte is a rapper, DJ, actor, and TV producer who's been a part of some of the culture's biggest moments. We'll get into that in a second, but first, I gotta kick the ballistics. Countless hours of preparation and research goes into making this show. I listen to music, read and watch artist interviews, and generally scour the internet looking for information on the topics I want to cover and the people I'm going to be talking to. MC Lyte proved to be a deceptively difficult one because there's so much ground to cover with her.
You, anybody here?
While looking at the nooks and crannies of her career for those obscure fun facts that I love so much, I discovered that she had a cameo as a character on The Regular Show, a Cartoon Network series about two 20-somethings that work at a local park as groundskeepers. In the episode, she's a member of Crew Crew, which is a rap group whose other members are voiced by Tyler the Creator and Childish Gambino.
Crew Crew!
In the episode, Crew Crew insults the show's star Pops for his poetry, which prompts Pops to challenge them to a rap battle. And to prove that I actually saw this and it wasn't some weird fever dream, here's a clip from the show.
Why you talking about beauty, man? Don't understand what that's got to do with you, you fool. You guys are like spoiled hams in a can, super bland. Expiration dates overdue.
This clip, combined with my memory of growing up in the 80s watching Saturday morning cartoons, made me wish that more rappers had their own cartoons. It makes perfect sense when you think about it. A big part of being a rapper is having a distinct voice because it really separates you from the pack. This is also one of the sole requirements for being a great cartoon character. Like for instance, I'm just gonna say a character's name, and I bet you hear the voice associated with it immediately after I say it. Marge Simpson.
It changed my life.
See? I bet you heard that unmistakably raspy voice. All right, now let's try it again, but this time with a rapper. Rick Ross. Same thing, right? You at least heard the signature grunt, if nothing else.
Yeah, you gotta come from the gut. You know what I'm saying? When you say something that you really mean, I hope you mean, you know, I mean that.
Boss. I'm a boss. Rappers also have vivid imaginations. This extends beyond the imagery in their rhymes and goes into fashion as well as their general lifestyles. I mean, based on their jewelry choices alone, rappers are in another league of creativity. Hey, remember that time Lil Uzi Vert put a huge diamond in his forehead that kept bleeding so he had to get it taken out? Remember? How can I forget? Thank you so much for reminding me of that. You're welcome. But what I was talking about is stuff like Cameron's Harlem World chain that was made up of a battery-powered globe that actually spun around. Fun fact, Lil Yachty ended up buying it from Cam and replacing Killer Cam Harlem World inscription with Yachty's World. Ghostface Killah has a golden arm cuff with an eagle perched on it, and it's truly one of the most creative things that I've ever seen. It's on display right now at New York City's American Museum of Natural History, and honestly, that thing is more of a sculpture than jewelry anyway, so that's the perfect place for it. Young Berg, also has a Transformers chain, and well, okay, all right. This one is more of a cartoon tie-in than anything, but it just serves to further prove my point. Lastly, Slick Rick's bejeweled eye patch is another moment of rap creativity that feels like something from a fairy tale, or stories of emperors from the Byzantine era. Did I say it right? Byzantine. Okay, like Bismarck. Or stories of emperors from bygone Byzantine eras. Got it that time. And while we're on the subject of Slick Rick, he's the perfect person to help with my next point.
It's a creative idea to get an eye patch, you know, finesse your whole look, your whole pirate look, you know what I mean?
Rappers are great storytellers. Storytelling is a characteristic intrinsic to rapping because the art form is about using words to illustrate people, places, and things. And yes, I'm fully aware that rappers with cartoons is not a new thing at all. MC Hammer's cartoon Hammerman is the first one that actually comes to mind. Hammer man, hammer.
Hammer man, hammer, hammer man, hammer. Whenever there's a crime, some crooks are gonna do time.
Yo. Can we please get MC Hammer as a guest on the show? Please, Hammer, if you're watching this, come talk to me. I love you. I respect you. I need to hear your story. We'll roll out the red carpet. Whatever you need, please come to the show. Andre 3000 had Class of 3000, which featured a new song in every episode. I might need to go back and rewatch this show just to make sure I didn't miss any heat, you know what I'm saying? Even Eminem had a very lo-fi cartoon called The Slim Shady Show that I honestly didn't remember, but since the internet doesn't forget anything, here's a clip from it.
Slim Shady, yeah. Slim Shady.
Hey, yo, what's cracking?
And the bond between rap and cartoon is still going strong to this day. For instance, Kid Cudi just had a show on Netflix called Intergalactic. T-Pain starred in Freaknik the Musical, which was a cartoon talking about the history of Freaknik.
Freaknik's back, baby.
And even Pharrell, whose new biopic is an animated Lego film.
You know what'd be cool is if we told my story with Lego pieces.
Seriously?
Yes.
Lego.
Just be open.
Man, so many of the things that I'm saying in this episode just sound absolutely insane. And shout out to Adult Swim for consistently giving rappers a place to voice cartoons and have their own cartoons.
Crew.
Now, I can't be alone in my selfish desire to have more rappers turn to animation and add whimsical content to the world, especially since a lot of rap bars are just flat out cartoonish. Like Jadakiss threatening to drop a double-door stainless steel fridge on Diddy from the top of a skyscraper, which I know is not a rap bar, but the visual is absolutely hilarious. So Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, or whoever, if you're listening, here is a short list of rappers who I think need their own cartoons. Action Bronson. Now I'm just spitballing here, but maybe it's about a chef who has to search the world for rare ingredients to finish his menu and the wacky adventures he ends up in. Tyler the Creator. Specifically Igor. I'm seeing a dark BoJack Horseman type of vibe here. I know you've heard the album, so you probably know what I'm talking about. West Side Gun. All right, maybe he's a retired wrestler who runs an underground crime syndicate called Griselda. Think Cobra and G.I. Joe. He steals artifacts from around the world and sells them to art collectors or Jay-Z. Tierra Whack. This one feels pretty self-explanatory, but I'm imagining like Pee-wee's Playhouse on shrooms, as if Pee-wee's Playhouse wasn't already on shrooms. And lastly, DJ Khaled. Okay, this one might seem like a curveball, but imagine the movie Inside Out. Now, imagine that the voice of confidence is done by DJ Khaled.
Another one.
Of course, there are tons of other rappers whose cartoons would be great, and my list of honorable mentions include MF Doom, Missy, Busta Rhymes, Ludacris, and CeeLo. But if you feel like I've left anybody out, sound off in the comments and tell me what you think their show would be or what it would be about. And how does this relate to MC Lyte, you ask? Well, it doesn't. Researching these episodes tends to present an assortment of rabbit holes for me to go down, and this time I just so happened to get stuck in the cartoon one. Hey, sometimes the essay has little to nothing to do with the interview itself, and this just so happens to be one of those times. So let's let MC Lyte herself pull us out of this rabbit hole as we sit and discuss her impact in music and fashion, as well as being a pioneer of the genre.
Wish she was here so I
We
All right. Today's guest is the first woman to ever release a full solo rap album, and ultimately, she's paved the way for any man or woman who went on to touch a microphone. She's found her way both the big and small screens too. And she's not just an actor, she's an executive producer and a writer. And if that's not enough, she's also the voice of God for several award shows. Ladies and gentlemen, MC Lyte.
Woo!
Lyte was good.
Man, I'm in your space.
Listen, it is an honor to have you in the space at the lunchroom table. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Listen,
Thank you very much.
How are your day going? You good?
Yeah, it's been pretty busy.
Okay, yeah.
But that's how we want it.
Exactly. If it's not busy, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I know you got a lot of stuff to do, so I won't take up too much of your time. I got a lot of questions, so we got to get into them. All right, first and foremost, I think I said it to you a little bit before, but interviewing you felt a little overwhelming because you were literally one of my formative hip hop memories. Like you were, aside from Salt and Pepper, you were like one of those people like who I was just like, oh, what is this? Like you were like when I was discovering hip hop. And we're not that far apart in age either. So seeing you on screen, I could relate to it in a way. But I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. And New York and Cincinnati are very different. So just describe to me what Brooklyn was like and what New York was like in the 80s. When you were coming up learning, when rap was finding its footing, so to speak.
Yeah, totally. Well, in Brooklyn per se, it took a minute to feel hip hop the way that it was being felt in different areas. And I know because I spent a significant amount of time up in Harlem at my grandmother's house, and my older cousins were listening to the Treacherous Three and the Cold Crush Brothers and Funky 4+1 More. And so I knew it existed. However, when I went to Brooklyn, back home, it was all about, the Caribbean. It was all about reggae, rockers, so I knew Sister Nancy and Super Cat and Yellow Man, all of the reggae artists that I grew up listening to. So if you're asking in Brooklyn, when did I hear hip hop?
Yeah, like what was your earliest memory of hearing hip hop in Brooklyn?
It probably have to be Rapper's Delight.
Okay.
Yeah. In Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Right. And I was hearing it about 4 or 5 years old in Harlem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. Okay, so I mentioned it before, but Salt and Pepper was one of the groups that, it was honestly the first album that I bought. Okay. I remember buying with Salt and Pepper. And I've seen you in interviews mention that Salt and Pepper was one of your inspirations.
Hot, cool, and vicious.
Man, listen. Yes. So my question is, if you remember that tape, what was one of the songs that really, grabbed you from that album?
Oh, well, I'll Take Your Man.
I'll Take Your Man is that
yes. And then out of my speakers into your tweeters, providing conversation for the
woofers and the tweeters.
When I slay, the techniques obey, cause I'm a fatal translator, a mixed boy slaves. And I'ma do it like this on them. Like this on them. That was that, yeah. That album, I can almost, with the exception of that song, because I was like, what is that? But I can almost do that whole album front to back. Okay. With no skips. I listened to it so much. Yeah, me too.
So what was it like, because you went on to meet them and work with them, because Salt's on your new album. What was the first time you met them like?
One of the first times, it was really tricky because we were at an event with a lot of DJs and a lot of people, and I had just put out I Cram to Understand You, and I understood that they were there, and I don't know if they knew I was there, but I just felt overwhelmed with as many. It was probably one of my first appearances.
Oh, wow.
So everybody was all on me. And so I couldn't see them. I knew that they were in the building, but I never got a chance to see them. But I actually went and saw them perform before I was MC Lyte.
Okay.
I saw them perform at Union Square, and I have photos. I've got
You still got the little
4x6s. I got a bunch of photos of them in red sweatshirts with big gold chains, and I think both of them might have had blonde hair.
With the S&P jackets on?
No, they didn't have those jackets on. They had different. You know what? They did have those jackets on. Oh my God. Yeah.
Are those jackets in the black Sony? You might not know, but
they should be.
They should be if they're not.
Yeah.
But hold it, because those jackets are iconic. Yes. That whole look, yeah. But moving on, we're gonna leap a little bit ahead.
Sure.
From that point in time to the 2000s, people were calling hip hop a fad.
Yeah.
Early on. And it proved not to be. But by the 2000s, you were 20 years into the game. So what did it feel like to not only be a pioneer because again, like I stated in the intro, you were the first woman to release a rap album. Like, what did it feel like to not only be a pioneer but also thrive and still be vibrant and still have chart positions and still have like
I mean, it felt really good. However, about the 2001, I was at a crossroad. I didn't really know what I was gonna do. I wish I would have went back to school. I wish I would have went to school, period.
Oh, you didn't? I know you wanted to go to Norfolk State.
Yeah, I was supposed to go to Norfolk State, but I never went because my career kicked off, and then I wound up going to Hunter for about 2 or 3 days, and then they sent me off to Copenhagen with the youngsters and Audio 2. I know.
I'm sorry, wait, I gotta pull it back a minute. So you went from attending Hunter College for a day or two to going to Copenhagen.
Yeah.
Like what kind of...
I had to make up my mind because once they put the tour in front of me, it was like, okay, am I gonna stay and finish school or I'm gonna go and then try to come back? And it was really wonky. Yeah. But I made the decision to go and I never turned back. But in 2000, it was the time when I had just left East West. And I was headed to Will Smith's record label at Interscope. Yeah. And then his deal went away. And so I was just like, ooh, what am I gonna do now? I'm out in this water. Where do I go? And then I wind up hooking up with a guy, Mark, who started his own label at RCA, and I put out a record that was executive produced by Jamie Foxx. So it was my first roll into what independent release looked like. Yeah.
Did you enjoy the, like, I guess the control of independence? Not control, but like sort of like the ownership of independence.
Okay. No, I mean ownership absolutely. But the work involved.
The work.
I think we don't really understand that a record label has sectors, divisions, departments. There's several people in them working on the stuff all day long, and them getting paid is dependent upon how hard they work. Take all of that away, and now it's you and one person like, what the fuck?
I say that all the time. Like I talk to my friends. I'm in a rap group too.
Okay.
Well, not two. You're not in a rap group, but I'm in a rap group. And when we're doing stuff, I'm like, you know that in labels, they have departments dedicated to this one thing that I have to spend 15 minutes on and get right.
Yeah.
Other than 15 days to roll a campaign out. It's just, it's crazy
Very
the level
different.
of, But piggybacking off of that, and now you're putting out One of One. You got a new album coming out.
Yes.
And it's the first one in about 10 years, a little more?
Yes, 10 years.
So I would imagine you've made music during that time and that gap. But what was the decision to give us a body of work this time as opposed to just, working on music?
Well, I think first off, it was a commitment between Warren Campbell and myself. In terms of we're gonna work slowly to find what this sound is, and then once we have the sound, we'll go all in.
Yeah.
And so pretty much those were the steps that we took to get us there. And why that made me feel comfortable is because we weren't in a rush. Some people, they specifically producers, when they get working, they want to know, is this gonna be it? And I gotta get that check. They on a fast pace. Whereas with Warren, it was like, listen, you're not in a rush. I'm not in a rush. Let's get it right. And so once we started to crank out some stuff and we hit on Woman, we was like, oh, okay, this is a good direction. Voice sounds really good with these instruments. The space that's necessary, the sparseness that lives within the track, I can get in there and be heard and not fighting up against things. And so we used that song as sort of the main ingredient, the meat and potato of the dish.
Like an anchor point.
Right. And then we just built around it.
And that's a beautiful thing because in today's climate as a musician, you don't really think that you have the space to sit with a song and sit with the idea and see where it takes you as opposed to just being like, throw it out for the analytics. Let's figure out what the market wants and all that shit. I'm glad you took your time with it, and that makes me even more excited to hear the album. Because, 10 years is obviously taking your time with a thing, but knowing that within that 10-year span, you were like, intentional about making sure you gave the album its proper space and gravity?
Well, let me just say this. It didn't take me 10 years.
I know it didn't take you 10 years.
Okay, so I have been recording. I've put music out here and there. I've showed up on other people's records here and there. I think I might have had some placements. When I did the television show, I did music for the television show.
Yeah.
So all of that, yeah. But it wasn't until maybe 2018, 19, right before the pandemic.
Okay.
Where we started to work on some things. And then, of course, the pandemic took us out for 2.5, 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and who all's on the album? I know you got Salt on there. I know you got Big Daddy Kane. I know you got
Raheem Devon.
Raheem Devon.
And we have Q-Tip. And we have Common.
Yeah.
And Ghostface.
And Money Long
and
is
Money
on the song.
Long and Mary Mary.
Yeah.
And Lil Mama. And Stevie Wonder. And, yeah. And that's just part one. We got a part two that has Tony Braxton and Anthony Hamilton. And yeah, so we're not stopping. We're going to keep going.
Your album, the cast of characters on your album, the guest list sounds like a Serato crate, which takes me to the next question because you're a DJ as well.
Yes.
So from what I've researched, Biz Markie gave you your first song set, your collection of songs. My question for you.
Cool V.
And
DJ
Cool
V.
Cool V.
Yeah.
My question for you is kind of like a nerdy inside question, but apparently Biz Markie was rumored to have Bob James Take Me to the Mardi Gras with no bells.
It's very possible. He had a lot of. Oh, you want to know, did that come across in the collection?
Did you
No.
get that? Okay. All right.
No, I got the basic library. Yeah. This is how you start, Lyte. And when you need anything else, you ask me, and I'll hook you up.
Hit you with that starter kit.
And then he called me every once in a while. Sensei. Yes, master. Yes, master. Do you need anything? No, I think I'm good. Thank you.
So and move like so. How long? When did you start DJing? When did he give you that?
2008.
Oh wow! So that's been a minute ago. So I would imagine your crates have gotten bigger.
Oh yeah.
Your crates have gotten fuller. How do you find new music? Like how are you? Are you still tapped into what's going on?
Yeah, still tapped in, and I'm also a part of many record pools, and I'll get on record pool calls every once in a blue just so I can hear what people are excited about, what people are playing. There used to be a time when I could just like roll up into a club and hear what's happening, but I think it's pretty much safer for me to do that in the confines of my home.
I feel like if we just see MC Lyte in the wild, we're like, what the fuck is happening?
Exactly. So yeah, and I just, I might call up Cool V and like, hey, I'm headed here. What's popping there? Oh, this, that. Oh, really? Okay, cool. That's great.
Yeah. That's dope. Like in my mind, I was like MC Lyte's on SoundCloud, listening to somebody with 5 plays. Like I'm putting that in my set. But,
no.
All right. So you've also branched out from music and DJing to the big and small screens, TVs, acting, voiceover stuff. And in the years that you've managed to do that, like my question for you is, was it? I mean, I know the answer, I think, but I'm just asking because I have to ask. Was it by happenstance or intentional? Like, did you move to TV and acting and film and voiceover stuff? Was it like a thing where you're like, I want to do that? Or was it somebody being like, I think you should do this?
For acting, I wanted to act before I wanted to rap.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I think many of the things that I do, I wanted to do before I found hip hop or even thought that I could participate in it. And so acting, I've seen it forever on TV, Facts of Life, Different Strokes, stuff with people of color in it.
Yeah.
I really gravitated towards, and I was like, that looks like it would be fun to do. And then my mom used to take me to theater. So I would see a play. There was a certain time where one of her friends worked as a union worker, as a doorman at the Majestic Theater. And they would leave the side door open for us. And so my mom would take me, and I'd get to take someone from my block. And so I saw 42nd Street and Dreamgirls and Dracula and, Cats and, yeah. So I saw people on stage, and I said, oh, I like this. Look at the admiration that they get. And, and the lights and, and so I was taken by it and thought one day I'd get on the stage. I just didn't know how.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. Because I always thought rap came first and then everything else came because of rap. But
everything did come because of rap.
Okay.
It's just
It was just not in the order.
Right. It's
Yeah.
just that I thought of these things first. Oh, here comes hip hop. Let me jump in here. Oh, okay. This gives me a stepping stone to an opportunity to act, or to an opportunity to do voiceover, or things of that nature. So, yeah.
Okay. And then within your acting career,
Mm-hmm.
I saw you were on, I don't want to mess her name up, so I'm not going to say the show,
Mm.
but your acting coach apparently was
William.
Stanford Davis, the actor from Mr. Johnson from Abbott
janitor.
Elementary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That blew my mind because I'm such a big fan of Abbott Elementary. And knowing that was your acting coach was like, what? The world is so small and crazy. But
It really is.
what's one thing that he taught you in the acting class that you kind of walked with and helped you through your career?
Just to remember where you are in the scene. Like, remember the nuances and the when, the why, and the where, and the how. But mostly if we're on a park bench right now and not in this space, there are birds. There might even be something that, some leaves that rustle on the floor, or, just being able to create the atmosphere that you're in before you really commit to the scene. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw you just you almost got in the character for like a split second. I was like, holy shit, she's doing it.
Because I just was like, okay, it's,
Yeah.
it might even be some shit from a tree, excuse my language. It might be things just happening around. People are talking like, God, you gotta talk that loud,
Yeah.
So it's just to get in the imaginary space of what it would feel like before you start your dialogue.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And it also seems like something you could just take with you through daily life, being present and just being aware of your surroundings and also appreciating the moment. That's kind of what I got from it, which is a bigger life lesson.
Yeah,
That's
it's
really
just
dope.
being aware. You're right.
Yeah. And so right now you're currently Detective Maurice on Angel on BET.
Monroe.
I'm sorry. I have
That's
very
okay.
poor handwriting.
It's all good.
But what would be your dream role, or what would be a dream project you would want to work on?
Probably one of my own. And we've got some
like
things
that.
in development right here. So
Sunny Girl, I like that.
Yep, so I'm excited about that. But in the meantime, Imani is great. It's a Black-owned production company, Manny Haley and Yolanda Haley. And they've put a lot of productions up on their feet and done really well. And so he and I talked. He was like, what you want to do? And I told him, he said, I got the right thing for you.
That's so fire.
Yeah, and so we're in the middle of the season right now. And I get right back on set on Monday when I return to New York.
Oh, wow, okay. So have you ever thought about adapting one of your songs into a TV show or movie?
Oh, that's funny that you should ask, because it was the show that Irv Gotti did that was
Yeah,
sort of like that.
he did do that.
Yeah, I wound up doing an episode as a detective on
really?
on one of those shows, yeah. And I think it was a Meek Mill song that we were moving through as the script and as the content of the story. But I don't know. Right now, I'm just all about the work.
Yeah.
And I enjoy getting into character. For as real as I am, I love make-believe. Can we make believe in this scene that we're doing whatever we're doing?
Yeah, it takes you out of that realness for a little while. You get to pretend.
Yeah, totally.
Because you're such a vivid storyteller in your rhymes. I'm just like, Poor Georgie would be a great film. You know what I'm saying?
What to think about.
But you're also an executive producer for your series, Partners in Crime. Partners in Rhyme, not crime,
Right.
rhyme. And you also co-wrote it. How difficult was writing? Did writing come to you naturally, or was it a thing that you had to, a new muscle for you to develop and learn?
It's totally a new muscle. I still don't quite have it because I'm such a storyteller that sees. I have a bunch of slugs, or action lines, a bunch of description lines of what it is that I want to see when I get into the scene. And much more attention should be paid to dialogue, in fact. But with Partners in Rhyme, I co-wrote it with Bentley. So it worked like a charm. He's been doing it for years. He knows the method. And it's just systematic for him. Whenever he's writing, we know when the act is over. We know when we need to move to the next scene, so on and so forth. So I just followed his lead. And he knew that when we got together. He was like, okay, we're going to co-write this, and it's going to be easy. And it really was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Shouts to Bentley. That sounds like he made you really comfortable in the process.
Totally.
And helped you usher it through.
Yeah.
Another thing that you're known for is your Voice of God work, which is basically doing the announcing for award shows. Like you do the Grammys, BET Awards, you've done Hip Hop Honors. Is there any sort of voiceover work that people don't know you did? Like, is there something that you did that that would be surprising or shocking?
Well,
if not surprising or shocking, just like lesser known.
Well, I do the Emmys, and I do the NAACP Image Awards, and I do the NFL halftime.
Oh wow! I didn't know that. I don't watch sports stuff.
And I mean, I've done everything from AT&T to Comcast to Tide to Downey to. I mean,
that is a crazy resume.
Nissan. I don't know. Yeah. Pepsi, Coke.
I think I saw somewhere, and I don't know how true it was. I saw somewhere that you were like the voice of a doll or a cartoon.
Oh yeah. I did a voice of a Mattel doll.
That's what it was. The Mattel
her name
doll.
Was Tia.
Tia? Was it like a doll where you pull the string and it makes a?
It wasn't a pull a string. That's kind of old school.
It is.
I think it was just a push a button.
I'm an older person.
Right. It wasn't the key in the ignition. It was a push.
Okay, I got you.
But yeah, that was fun to do as well.
All right. Speaking of fun to do, let's have a little fun now.
Yeah, let's do it.
So
We weren't having fun.
We're having a lot of fun.
Oh, okay.
I want to take it up a notch.
Okay, let's
You know what I'm saying? We were at a 6. I want to go to like a
I'm
8.
with you.
You know what I'm saying? Not too much fun, but
Right.
fun. You are one of the flyest rappers from the point you came out until sitting here today. You've
Now,
always
this is
been
fun.
fly. Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
But you've always been fly, and you've had a very unique style. And one of the most iconic things about your style has been your hairstyles. So I want you to rank 4 of your hairstyles for me, from your favorite to
Least favorite?
I guess least favorite. But they're all you. So
Right.
let's
Well,
just
it's
say
only 4, so I can do that.
So I got the ones that I picked.
Okay,
And
let's go.
You got the mushroom cut, the OG shit, the pixie cut, the side shaved, and the low cut, which you're rocking now. Those were the 4 hairstyles. So if you had to like rank them, which ones would you say? We're gonna put the pictures in post. You know what I'm saying? But
Well, braids to me are always easiest. They're always easiest. It doesn't mean that I really want to rock them all the time.
yeah. And I didn't put braids in because I was like, braids feels like like so many people have them, but
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Right. I mean, it's still easy,
Yeah.
which would be one of the reasons I would like it.
Okay.
This to me is easy. I get up, I wet it, I put the mousse on it, I roll. I'm all about convenience now. And any mushroom, all of that takes taking care of, you know, and case in point, it rained here for, 48 hours. I would be really jacked up right now if I had a straight hairstyle. I'd be in need of a stylist to help me out. So I would say braids and then this, and then whatever kind of length later.
Okay. I rank the mushroom cut as my favorite.
Oh, okay.
It's because it's just like when I think of you, I think of like the low cut.
Okay.
But the mushroom cut is just like
Old school, that's it.
it's just the
MC Lyte.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Speaking of being fly, you've also been fly throughout the decades. Like outside of your hair, your gear has been fire. What has been your favorite era of fashion? Like, would you say, or decade era? Like, what was your favorite time of? I mean, I know you've probably yeah.
Probably the beginning, because it didn't matter. It was like, you know, I'd put on whatever, be like, oh yeah, here's what he like. You know, it wasn't honestly until I think Roughneck where we brought a stylist in to really give me a signature look.
Okay. Wow.
And yeah, up until then, it was just like, you going to the mall? Okay, I'm gonna go with you. You know.
Yeah, like the
Right.
80s was almost like a counterculture fashion thing where you found something that nobody else had and owned it and made it fresh. And
Or-
iron shirts, letters on your shirt. You know?
Just the opposite. You just go to some old regular store and get an OP shirt and be all right. Or
Yeah.
you have some Levi's or some Lees and a pair of Pumas or Adidas or whatever it was that you felt like wearing that day, and have a Mickey Mouse shirt on. Like it could be anything.
Man, I missed the Mickey Mouse shirts being fly.
Yeah.
I really missed that. Remember the Coca Cola shirts?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We was rocking Coca Cola like it was polo. That's crazy.
What's crazy and interesting at the same time is Charles Stetler, who was Fat Boy's manager.
Yeah.
I think he managed a couple of other people also. He was the one who had a lot to do with that huge tour, the first hip hop tour that Coca Cola sponsored. And because of that, it really ingrained Coca Cola into hip hop culture.
Oh wow! I didn't know that the first tour was sponsored by Coca Cola. I've always wondered, I always wonder why we were wearing the shirts like that.
Yeah.
Like they were just like Polo or just Gap or
Isn't
something.
that crazy?
It is
how
crazy.
that happens. It's same thing with Vibe and Tommy Hilfiger. You know, they were friends, and Quincy made a way for him to become, ingrained in the culture of us. And so I remember when we all showed up to do the fashion show. We showed up because Vibe and Quincy asked us, not necessarily because it was Tommy Hilfiger.
Yeah.
But then we all wound up wearing his stuff and liking it. And, it's the American colors. It's bright, it's flashy, it's everything hip hop is. And so that's how he gained his popularity. It's always a reason. We may not, be aware of it, but yeah.
It may just be in the background for us, but
Yeah.
So another thing I really admire about you is just the level of low-keyness that you've maintained. Like there's no paparazzi, there's no TMZ. It's always been just kind of like the music, the art, the fashion, the person, that's it. How have you managed to do that? Like, cause I feel like we've moved through so many eras of people just kind of like being Summer Jam screen or whatever. How have you managed to maintain such a low profile?
I think because I'm just me. It's like I don't know that I'm doing anything so interesting outside of what I do musically that would garner that type of attention. I'm pretty much like, okay, we're going to go in the studio, we're going to do this song. Okay, we're going to go home.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go out here, I'm going to do this show, and then I'm going to come home. And then I'm going to, you know what I mean? Like, so I work, and I've also really gotten used to being happy with a small circle of folks and spending more time with my mom. She's ill. She has cancer.
Oh, wow. Sorry to hear that.
Yes. And so, it's great that she lives with me, so we get to spend some time together, even when it isn't intentional.
Yeah.
She's waiting for me in the kitchen.
So does that kind of bring you back to childhood memories of like being with your mom, or is it like a rekindling of that relationship of sorts in that way?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
It's all good. I had a great childhood. It's because of her that I had the type of exposure with plays, museums, and beaches and art class, and everything that was free was for us. So we went, and she packed me up and took me wherever. And so I really love and appreciate that openness from her to be able to gift that to me, because not every parent takes their kids places.
This is true.
Yeah. And people have to work. The pressure is on right now. So the time that I got to spend with her as a child, I cherish.
So my next question is, you said you go from work to home, and you kind of like you handle business, you handle your business, and you're out.
Yeah.
What do you do for fun? What's like a fun thing that like MC Lyte likes to do?
Oh boy.
Work is fun too.
Right.
If work is the fun.
Right. I like to bowl.
Oh really?
Mm-hmm,
Are you good at bowling?
Well, what's funny is I used to say I was on the bowling team in high school, but that doesn't mean I'm good, right?
Yeah.
I like to bowl. I specifically like to learn. So I'm a big documentary watcher. I also like to watch movies. I really like limited series type stuff. But I think when I have the most fun is probably small gatherings where you can really talk and laugh and get to know more about the people that you thought you knew.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Like
just
what-
share space.
Like, what was the last thing you saw that just cracked you up to no end? Like
Oh,
the funniest
goodness.
thing you saw?
It's probably something on IG
Yeah.
with a kid, you know, maybe when they're making, you know, some kind of noise behind a kid, and they're like, or when they think they're gonna taste something good and it's terrible, or when they think they're tasting something and they're tasting nothing because the straw is not going in the thing, and they're like, what is happening here? Yeah, whenever I'm looking for some quick relief, I may go to social media and find something funny and then be met with something atrocious, which reminds us of how jacked up stuff is.
Very jacked
But
up.
it's really important to have a balance, to be aware of what's happening in the climate, and then also be able to relieve ourselves from all of the stresses of the day.
That's a word. That's a word and a half. So speaking of social media and laughter, one of the things that I found when I was like researching you was the Lyte and Lynn Chronicles.
They called it grits. So first you're gonna ask me, do I want some grits? Do I look like I want some grits? I had
You look like
Popeye's
you
chicken.
need some grits in your life.
I had Popeye's chicken this morning. Real Popeye's chicken with the honey and everything. She gonna come over here with a bowl of slop. Talking about is grits.
Where Lynn is her. I don't know her last name.
COO, Lynn Richardson.
Yes, Lynn Richardson. You guys would make these little 1-minute clips where she would be dying hysterically laughing. And it was like it's the best comedy duo in the world. Like I sat and watched almost all of them because I was just like, this is an amazing, like it's a side of you that I don't really think many people get to see and I haven't seen before. But it also made me think about going all the way back to your first record deal, how you always seem to keep family as a part of the business side of things. Like when I say family, I mean like, it was long rumored that Audio 2 was your cousins. And you know, you and Lynn, I know you're not related, but there's like this sort of familial feel where it feels like, it kind of relates back to that small circle thing you were saying. Like you are intentional about the people you have in your orbit and how y'all work. So the real question I had within that was just like, how is the working dynamic? Is it that much fun, or like, do you guys like?
Let me tell you, woo, it's heavy because you're talking about Dr. Lynn Richardson, who is the COO of Sunny Girl, comes from the corporate world. And so, yes, she's going to put in strategy. She's going to break out some spreadsheets.
Yeah.
And you're going to be looking like, what are we doing? Wait a minute. I'm just here to create the song. Can I just go in the studio? And basically, I was like, okay, you're going to be the COO, and I'm going to be the CEO. And she was like, well, do you know what a CEO does? And I was like, they don't really do nothing. For as long as I've been around, people have been calling themselves CEOs and they don't really do nothing. She said, no, well, that's not going to work here. So if you're going to be called a CEO, you have to do what a CEO does. And so I had been put to the test, you know, many times. I definitely have to be present if you're an executive. And so it has been one of the most challenging relationships, COO to CEO.
Yeah.
But one of the most rewarding.
Dope. I got 2 more questions.
Yeah.
And one more question keeps it in the family vein of things. Charles Hamilton is your cousin?
He is.
That is crazy because again, like I discovered him through the internet. But my question was, did you know about his music aspirations early on, or did like, you found out like when we found out?
No, he was a prodigy. He'd been playing the piano since he was like 3-4 years old. He had been on the news. He had been everywhere from Ohio. You know, he's from New York, but they lived in Ohio for quite some time. But when I would perform at the Apollo, he and his mom lived nearby, and they would come and he would be all of 11 or 12 years old telling me he wrote me a rhyme.
And were you like, get out of here.
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, boy, are you kidding? Okay, give it to me. Let me see it. And then I would see it and I was like, oh, that's so cute. And then years later, you know, he becomes one of the most talked about freestylers on the planet.
That boy is bad. Like he's one of the like the best in that era.
Yeah.
Like he's amazing, an amazing talent.
Thank you.
The last question that I had is a word of advice. I usually ask all of my guests that come on this show a little bit of advice. And it's not usually for me, it's just for the world at large.
Sure.
Sometimes it's for me. But You've been through like 10%.
Hell and high water.
Hell and high water.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
But yeah, I mean, you've been through your own lyrical skirmishes. You've been through beef. You survived a few beefs. Some of your songs were used in beef, like Lil' Kim and Foxy Brown referenced Hot
Damn Ho.
Hot Damn Ho. My question for you is, what advice would you give to any rapper that was like in the middle of beef or like trying to survive beef?
Get yourself a sharp knife. I would just say to just remember to keep it in the spirit of fun. If you feel emotionally charged to the degree that you want to get physical, I would say just sit down. Sit down, relax, breathe. It's not that serious.
Listen, this conversation was serious and fun. A lot of fun. MC Lyte,
you.
Thank you so much for being a guest on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Once again, shout out to MC Lyte for stopping by the show and sharing so many wonderful stories with us. Be sure to check out her new album, One of One, when it drops. And as usual, stick around for a little something extra after the credits. The Almanac of Rap was created, hosted, and written by me, Donwill. The show's executive producers are Donwill and Isha Sesay. The show was produced and directed by Travis Harris. Hassan Spruill is the assistant producer. The show was edited by Kobina Baffour. The camera operators are Travis Harris, Kaushik Kalidindi, Melissa Bunny Elian, and Kobina Baffour. Art direction was handled by Kaushik Kalidindi. Graphic design by Crystal Simone. The technical director is Compton Timberwolf. Music production was handled by Von P. Brianna Harris is the production assistant. All right, you still there? Cool. Before we go, I found an MC Lyte cartoon tie-in. Marvel used her Light as a Rock album cover as inspiration for a Great Lakes Avengers comic book cover variant. I'm pretty sure that this means the music of MC Lyte exists in the Marvel universe, which means that MC Lyte exists in the Marvel universe. So maybe we'll get her in a Marvel cartoon? I don't know. All I do know is that those Marvel variant covers are super dope. All right, that's it. I'll see you guys next time on the Almanac of Rap.